Hi, I'm Darius Spearman and you're watching African Elements, and I'm doing something new today. Welcome to the first edition of Say What? This channel is dedicated to Black and Africana Studies related content, but there's a lot of misinformation about what Black Studies is and a lot of claims circulating that are spreading misconceptions about historical facts, the Black experience, and the discipline itself. Whether that's made up quotes, Harriet Tubman never said that, or other facts that people believe that just aren't true. This isn't true. So I'm going to start what may be a regular series, deconstructing some of these myths and questionable claims, and hopefully give folks some tools to determine whether a claim warrants belief. I'll be uploading regular content as well, but for now, let's establish the rule. This is a game I sometimes use in the classroom to help my students deconstruct claims. It's called red light, yellow light, green light. If you already know the rules, then just jump straight to here, and that'll take you straight to the video. I'm going to pick some content that makes some claim that's related to either Black history, Black studies, or the Black experience. A green light means go. A yellow or red light will come up whenever I come to something that's either a bold claim with no evidence, a vague, overly broad, simplistic, or unfalsifiable claim, meaning that there's no way to determine whether it's true or false, or something that's logically fallacious. Some logical fallacies include cherry-picking information, which we often find, for example, in vaccine deniers, who will find one study that supports their claim and ignore hundreds of others that contradict it. Straw man arguments, or arguments that misconstrue and then attack an argument that nobody's making, or arguments from ignorance, which you commonly hear in statements like, well, how else would you explain it? Those are the most common examples of logical fallacies, but there's many others, and I'm sure we'll encounter them. Right? So now that we've established the rules, let's jump in. I'm going to start with a video by Dane Calloway that he titles The Effects of Social Engineering Experiments on Black Americans. It's a channel with quite a few subscribers, and this video, which was posted 2 weeks ago, already has 100,000 views, so he's crushing it on YouTube. All I can say is kudos to you, Dane. I'm not here to take you down. We're just here to do an exercise in examining some claims. So in all sincerity, big props to you. There's also a link to the original video below if you'd like to check that out. Let's get into the video.
What if America is witnessing history repeat itself in modern day times, but things won't be so recognizable to people due to the consistency of publicized social distractions already underway?
What? Okay, let's slow down. We have a kind of a vague claim here that there are public social distractions underway. We need more specificity on what distractions are they? What are they distracting us from? This is what we would call an unfalsifiable claim.
I think they're doing everything they can to instill fear in people, and I think it's ridiculous, and I think they're very disreputable. And some of the Democrats are doing it the way it should be, but some of them are trying to gain political favor by saying a lot of untruths. The fact is,
and with the public's attention focused on multiple fear-mongering social engineering experiments all at once.
What? Okay, again, yellow light. Let's slow down. What are these social experiments? How many of them? So we would need, again, this is sort of a vague, unfalsifiable claim.
That provides a clear pathway for allowing strangers to propagate and implement their own deceitful hidden agendas against the population in general, or targeted at whomever they so choose to. Just think about that for a second.
What? Slow down. Think about what specific claim are you making?
Because even a virus has to be injected, whether it's for food, water, electrical beams, or central processing units. And it's apparent that it can—
What? Not quite sure what he means there. Electrical beam, I don't know if he's talking about computer viruses or, this is kind of a vague. What is he talking about here? How does an electrical beam transmit a virus. That's kind of a weird claim, but let's keep going.
Can be utilized as a weapon targeted at a particular person or groups of people. So the question remains, who has control over these social engineering experiments?
What? Again, we haven't established that there are social engineering experiments because you haven't specified what these experiments are. So I don't know who's controlling them or if they even exist because we haven't gotten into a specific claim yet. But hopefully he'll do that soon.
Because the sooner we can populate that answer, the sooner we'll know just who should be held responsible for lots of things occurring across the world.
What? Again, a vague claim. There are lots of things. Yes, there are lots of things going on in the world. What specific things are you referring to? And then we'll be able to better determine how to hold people responsible for them.
Because we don't have to reach too far back in time to recall other social engineering experiments that have been conducted upon our people, like Margaret Sanger with Planned Parenthood.
What? Okay, again, yellow light. This is kind of complicated. Margaret Sanger's history is very complicated. She was a eugenicist, so there's a little bit more context to that quote than he is than he's presenting.
The Public Health Service Division of the Department of Health and Human Services with the Tuskegee Airmen experiment.
What? Okay, stop. So I don't know whether to give him the benefit of the doubt on this and just assume it was maybe a slip of the tongue, but I'm hoping he knows that there's a difference between the Tuskegee Airmen and the Tuskegee experiment. Although he did show a photo of the Tuskegee Airmen in the video, I'm not sure. I hope he understands those are two different things. The Tuskegee experiment is a thing, and there's a history behind that is a lot of the underlying reason why a lot of Black folks don't trust the medical establishment. Even with that, there's a lot of misconceptions about what that actually was.
Charles Darwin and Francis Galton with eugenics.
What? We have an oversimplification here of specifically Charles Darwin. Now, his cousin was a eugenicist who based a lot of his claims on Darwin's work. Darwin himself, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The word eugenics wasn't coined until after. As a matter of fact, it was his cousin that built on his work who coined that phrase. So it's a little bit complicated there. I think he's oversimplifying that. But certainly his cousin was a eugenicist, believed in racial purity, etc.
Walter Plecker with the Racial Integrity Act of 1924, and the United States with segregation laws, in which some of these laws seems as if they are still active today because reality shows us that nothing is racially equal 100%.
What? Okay, again, he's mixing in some facts in there. Everything that he's saying is a thing. Racial segregation is a thing. Was an experiment? Again, maybe it would be helpful if he defined what he meant by social engineering experiment. I'm not sure what point he's making about it, though.
In your opinion, would it be too far-fetched to claim that there's an agenda to exterminate a particular group of people in today's society?
What? Yes. The time to believe a claim is when you have sufficient evidence to establish that the claim is true. Extermination of a population, that's far-fetched, and I'll tell you why. There has always been an effort to control labor. There's always been an effort to suppress the uplift of particularly Black folks, but people of color in general as well. Exterminate them? No. That would be silly because the U.S. economy continues to and has always depended on the labor of people of color. There would have been no reason or desire for slave owners to eradicate their slaves. What would they do without them? No. Even the prison population serves many purposes. There's no incentive, or especially prison guards, to eradicate all prisoners. That's one of the most powerful lobbies there is. And certainly if that were on their agenda, that we would have known by now, but they would be out of a job if we eradicated all prisoners. So certainly control, I'm with you on that, but eradicate, no.
And if you answered yes, then how would you explain multiple reports stating that, quote, a COVID-19 vaccine will only work if trials included Black participants?
What? Well, okay, here's what we call an argument from ignorance. So this has to be true, because how else would you explain it, right? Okay, we're getting in some interesting territory here. I think I'm gonna cut the video where I'm almost a little bit more than halfway through. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on this, but you get the idea. I wasn't able to get very far before hitting a red light or a yellow light. So I'm really curious to see what your reactions are. Is there something I missed? Maybe a fallacy, or maybe even a claim that I overlooked? I think I got them all. It was hard to go more than a few seconds without hitting something, but maybe something I got wrong. Maybe you have a different take on whether or not these claims are justified. And so this is the kind of discussion, usually this is done with a larger group, an entire classroom, where there's a little bit of back and forth on, well, here's how you can justify that claim, here's how you can't justify that claim. So this is the kind of discussion that I'd love to have in the comments. So I look forward to a live discussion, a lively discussion. And let me know how it goes. Would you like to see more of this sort of content? I intend to sort of sprinkle it in from time to time, unless you'd like to see more. But I do intend to get back to some historical content and some classroom-based content as well. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support this channel on Patreon, there's a link to that below. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the comments.